KCC105. Here's the third and the last video for week number 7. We've talked about indexes, we talked about inflations. Let's compare indexes, inflations, all in one graph. So we can say, hey, how does inflation compare to, say, the price of ice cream or something else? Let's check out how the process goes. Now, here's the problem. Here's the problem with comparing different prices. If I compare it, and you can squint and see CPI, ice cream, and the cost of shoes in one graph, they're all over the place because the prices are completely different. A pair of shoes is not the same as a pair of ice cream, and a pair of CPI is a completely different number. We can't see a comparison. However, if we use baseline indexes, here's the data from the very first video I was talking about ice cream. If I look at the cost of ice cream from 2008, yeah, that's money, but I can convert it to a baseline index. Now, what if I got some more data like CPI? And you'll see here's another link for CPI. This is actually a different website to calculate the CPI, but it's a little simpler actually I think than the last one, 2008 to 2018. And I can go down here, I can download it as Excel, and I already did that. And then, ta-da, here's all the numbers. These are all the CPI numbers from 2008 all the way up to 2018. So let me highlight those. I highlight them in Google Sheets. Same thing in Microsoft Excel. I highlight all the way down the line. Yeah, almost there. There we go. Highlight them all. Control C. And you see that little dotted line means it copied them. And then I got to go over. So it's a little back and forth for this assignment. Hopefully we can handle that. From the CPI, I copied the CPI, go over to my ice cream data, and I'm going to paste it. Control V in Google Sheets. And I'm actually going to label this. This is CPI. You might notice something. I left a little gap here. I'm going to leave a gap because I want to put all the index numbers right next to each other. But the CPI I'm going to leave over here. So next to my baseline index, let's say this, CPI index. Well, how do indexes work? They always start at 100. What's next? Equals. What's the formula for index? Take the current index, divide by the original, the baseline index, and then of course we know how we have to do here. We have to hit the F4, puts those dollar signs there, and multiply by 100. I just multiplied by 199. Let me try that formula one more time. Equals the current index, divide by the baseline index with the F4 button, multiply by 100. And there's my CPI index. And now I can pull that right down the line, all the way down, keep going, 14, 15, 2017, 2018, ta-da, and there we go, get some the index numbers. So we have ice cream prices and CPI. Now obviously both change based on inflation, but the numbers are way different. Ice cream costs about $4. CPI is measured in hundreds. We can't compare them. That's why we're making these indexes. Now these numbers I can compare. So I'm going to highlight all of those numbers. Once again, we know how to make graphs. So you got to highlight the numbers I'm graphing, both indexes. I'm going to highlight them all the way down to the bottom. And there we go. Everything's highlighted, all the indexes. In Google Sheets, and actually it's the same in Microsoft Excel, but the organization's a little different. Click Insert, go down to Chart. It's going to take a second. It's thinking, because there's a lot of data here. It's still thinking. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. I think it went way back up here. There it is. Because I have to scroll up to see the graph. It created it to the top of the numbers. There we go. I have this graph here which illustrates CPI goes up. Yeah, we know how inflation works. Ice cream goes up and down and wow, all over the place. Maybe it's because of the summertime or something, the spikes in the prices. But that's very interesting. It's showing me that, yeah, both things change, but inflation's more steady. Ice cream's more volatile, to use a financial term. But you have, this is the idea of what we're going for in this this assignment. The last thing I'll say to make this graph a little better, this is a good graph, and if you look at my example graphic here, you can see a similar graph. I put, of course, the title, description, a source for the data, some exploration questions, right? Because I don't want to look at this and say, oh, it's nice. No. That's, you're not thinking ahead. Look at that graph and say, well, what's going on? Why is this so volatile? Why is this one kind of leveled, peaked here and then kind of came back down? Those are the questions that you're going to ask. But we can make one improvement to this graph. I don't have time on the bottom. So on Google Sheets, you click here, Edit Chart, X-axis. X is on the bottom. Yeah, I want the X-axis. So you click the little tic-tac-toe grid and it says what data, what time period. Right over here, there's the years. So I'm going to highlight all those. Ooh, you know what? Start with a number, not the name year. And there we go. Pull those all the way down. There we go. Got it? Okay. I got to scroll back up to find the graph. There. Oh my goodness gracious. Something really strange just happened. I cannot diagnose it. I know what it is. Watch this. I'm going to click B here. Right now, Excel thinks those are numbers, so it's like 2008, and well, they are numbers, but we're trying to name my graph. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go up here to data. Nope, I'm sorry. Let's see where I got to do it. There, more formats. I'm going to click plain text. There we go. Plain text. If you get a simple, I think everybody can make a graph. I've seen you guys do graphs before. If you make a label and you kind of get that weird graph, you need to highlight those years. Go to 1, 2, 3, because it's not numbers. We're not measuring like quantity. We're measuring plain text because we're measuring like the name of the year. This is 2008, 2009. Ta-da! We got a graph here. There's little triple dots here. You can save that. And then, of course, you know how to use Google Drawings, and you should be able to make a graph like that. Very, very quickly, I also want to let you know some data sources because I'm looking for 3 things. Ice cream was mine. You can pick gasoline. You can pick other foods. You can pick consumer goods. How do you find consumer goods? Well, here's where you pick CPI, the price data. Here's the first list. We used this before in the first video to get the ice cream. And then here, if you click this link, you'll see that this big, it was in the second video too, kind of overwhelming, lots of stuff. But if you go urban consumers, go slide over to the multi-screen data search, you can kind of work this little grid here. I don't need seasonally adjusted. Next form. Let's pick city averages to encompass the entire U.S. I want current because I want to start basic. And then now look at this. I have lots of different data sources I can look at. So you want to talk about the price of toys over time? Photography equipment? Sure, we can look at that over time. We can look at major appliances. Why not? You know, lots of different things. Beer, alcoholic beverages, food, soups. Lots of stuff in here. So this website is really interesting. You can find lots of different data and see how it changes over time compared to CPI. Put that together in a graph. I'm using Google Sheets to make this little graph. And then with the Google Sheets, then we can save this graph and you can tie it all together in a graphic. Lots of pieces, but that's what your week 7 assignment is going to look like. And if you do have questions, please feel free to reach out.